Hello everybody and welcome to my video, Emma's Life in Norfolk. I hope you're all well and thank you very much for those of you that watched my last video and commented or liked my last video. So in this video you're going to see me tidy up this part of the garden. I'm going to cut the grass. You'll see me do some weeding and some sorting where my pots area is. And like I've said before, I always look at my garden in sections. So I'm really focusing on this corner where I usually have my bench, where there's kind of some stepping stones and some pots just to the right of the way that the camera is looking at the moment. So I spend quite a long time on that. And then I do some more work just around the corner where the herbs are and cut all the grass around there. And then right towards the end of the video, you'll see me planting some more of my peas in. And if you stay right till the end, I show a little snippet of my project in Great Yarmouth that I mentioned on my other channel, for those of you that follow my other channel. So you can see the corner there just behind where the lawnmower is really gone a bit crazy. The delphiniums are nearly as tall as me. A number of the other plants have really got a lot bigger. But my grass had gotten quite a bad way. I'm still trying to seed that area. So I've put more seed down because I think the first seed was past its best, unfortunately. So I just decided to cut all the grass and then I water some of the seed in to hope that it's actually going to take. I didn't get time this time to do the edges of the grass, but I did manage to cut it all. Now I know for those of you that aren't in the United Kingdom, some of you it's a bit of a surprise to see a lawnmower with a lead, but it's quite common in the United Kingdom. I mean, my mum does have a petrol lawnmower, but lots of people have electric lawnmowers, and you'd have to get used to the lead and make sure you don't cut it through to risk being electrocuted. You can see all my washing, it's all up down the end of the garden because at the moment we're still working on the veranda. My husband has done a lot of work on that with my mum's partner, and it's nearly there. We're now just waiting for all the roof to arrive. So some of my pots in this area were desperate for a drink and desperately needed to be weeded. So I decided really to focus my time on this whole corner. Cutting back, weeding, watering and just generally tidying up. My video back, I always look at it in a bit of a shocked way really because it's so green. I just think, wow, look at all the different shades of green. What a light green, shiny glossy leaves green, dark green. I think a lot of my flowers probably will kind of be more around, probably in a couple of weeks. June time my garden's quite colourful, but this particular section, it has made me realise that I don't have much colour. I have some variegated leaves, but I don't really have much colour. So I might do something about that. I had my bergamot herbs, I think I've pronounced that correctly, but one of them hasn't come back. Then I've got some apple variegated mint. I've got my fatsias, which are variegated. And I've got my lovely artichoke leaves, which are like a silver green. I don't really have any colour, so I will be looking to add some colour into this area. Then you can see my laurel hedge at the back there. So if you remember my videos a few months ago, I cut that right back. Behind the laurel hedge is a fence, and that fence is the fence which is in our garden. It's quite in a bad way really, probably needs to be replaced. But that's the one which I've said about many times is a bit awkward because the boundary is the responsibility of the next door neighbour, but the fence is actually in our garden. So they don't actually have a boundary. It's all a bit strange. They rely on our boundary. So they're not going to want to replace it because it's in our garden. But then we don't really want to replace it because A, we can't see it. And B, it's not our responsibility. So we'll see what happens. Do you have similar things elsewhere in the world? For those of you that aren't in the United Kingdom about boundaries, it can all be a bit funny with the hedges and the fences here, and sometimes people will get into dispute with their neighbours about where the boundary is, and a person arguing, for a couple of centimetres. It can all get quite expensive actually. And there's all sorts of stories that sometimes you see in the media where people get into all sorts of arguments and problems and fuss. I also noticed just there in the video, I'd got some sort of weed that was creeping all over the tree and all over the fascia. It was winding its way round lots of my plants. So I was pulling that up and right from the root and then untangling it where it had gone all over the plants. I've also got a couple of trees here in pots, which I like the look of. That has reminded me, my sister very kindly got me a lovely lilac for one of my birthday presents, and I haven't yet planted it in. I just suddenly had a thought because I've not watered it recently. So I should probably go out into the garden and just check the greenhouse and make sure everything's watered. So I'll do that after I've done this recording. So you can see in quite a short period of time I managed to fill up my bucket, and my brown bin is absolutely full at the moment, so I've got no space for it. I've actually managed to secrete some soil in the brown bin. I filled it up with grass and so on, then I put soil on the top which compacted it down, then I put weeds on the top because I'm still trying to get rid of soil from the garden from when I had my previous project. And then you can also see just where I am at the moment in the video, there's a little water area here. It's only a very small area, but I do like that, particularly as I found the newt in my greenhouse and we'll have frogs and different creatures. So I do like to have that there. It was getting a little bit overgrown, so I just wanted to clear up some of the weeds. So I've got a few projects ongoing at the moment. So you all know that I'm making progress with all my vegetables and the plants in my greenhouse. But also I've got a few plans for some different areas. So over the course of the next few weeks, I'm going to weed and clear my middle section in my garden. That has got really quite overgrown. So I need to really clear that, sort that, and allow the plants that I do want to be in that section to thrive, because at the moment it's all really quite overgrown. I then need to go back to my other corner, which I showed you at the beginning of the video, and make sure that I'm keeping all those plants separate, because I've already noticed that some of the daisies are starting to spread already. So I'm going to spend a bit of time on that. And then once the veranda's done, I'm going to really start concentrating on the lawn in that area. I really want that lawn to be very green and ideally no weeds. Elsewhere in the garden is, as some of you say, a fairy tale garden. Is a bit of a nature garden, really. I love the fact that the bees love it and all the insects and animals that we have in the garden, like hedgehogs. So I want to keep that. But the area which is closer to the house, I want the grass to be nicer, and I'm going to really do a lot of work on my border where one of my stone figures is. And then I'm also going to look at doing like that little alpine or cactus section near the house that I talked about in my last video. So keep an eye out, because there's going to be a few more sort of projects that I'm going to be working on that I'm going to be showing you. In the front garden, I need to do some more maintenance. So my grass is really long. The hedge is getting a bit wild to such a degree that we can hardly get to the water butt. And unfortunately, the water butt that's been leaning over for absolutely ages, and my mum kept saying to me, oh, that's leaning over, that's going to fall. It's leaning over, it's going to fall. And then she said to me she'd pushed it up to stop it from falling. And I went to get some water from it the other day, and the whole thing has collapsed over. It's all split. So not only have we lost all the water in the water butt, we've lost loads of water right by the foundations of the house, and I've lost the water butt, and water butts are about £40 to £50. So I've also wasted a lot of money. So really disappointed about that. So I think the starting point is to cut the hedge right back so I can actually get into that area, see how badly the water butt is split, and if it's split at the bottom, then I'm just going to have to bin it. So that's the second water butt that I'm getting rid of. And it's just so frustrating, because it could have been resolved. And my mum kept saying to me, oh, that's leaning. And neither me nor my husband have had a chance to do anything with it, which is a shame. Then I also need to plant in those 4 privet hedges in the front garden. So that's another little job that I've got to do. and then I need to do some weeding. So actually by the front door it's gathering weeds, and I always notice that. I'm not sure everybody else does, but every time I unlock the house door, I notice that. We've got a few jobs to do on our house actually. For quite some time we've had a couple, they're decorative bricks, but they've been loose. And I've said to my husband about looking at it, and I contacted a builder. He gave us a quote and he said he was going to fit us in last September. He then messaged me in February to said, were we still interested? I said yes, and I thought I'd really like to say no because you told me September and you're now contacting me in February. And he still hasn't contacted me. And my husband came home earlier and a brick fell out of the house onto him. So it's getting to be like a critical point really, because that could have fallen on my daughter. That could have fallen on one of our heads. So I need to get that sorted. And then you'll see me just digging over where I put the peas, and I put some more peas into that section. Now I've learned from experience really, you're better, it's like with the you're better to put lots of extra in because you might lose some. Some you're not going to get any fruit on at all, some might not grow, they might not get enough water and the peas might die. So if I only put 6 out, then I might end up with 3, who knows. So I've put lots out in the gaps, and it's like with the beans, you can see in those containers. Later in the video I put another container out, and a couple of them I've squashed in quite a lot, but a couple of them will die, a couple of them will be eaten by the snails, but I'll have enough to, you know, get a decent number of meals. And then look how crazy my potatoes have gone. So I'm really pleased with how the potatoes are doing. They've really done very well. In a minute when I go outside, I'm going to check my blue container, you know, the container that I put the potatoes in, and see how they're doing. And then right in the right hand corner, the picture, they're my husband's tomato plants. So they're getting bigger as well. But I haven't been out for a couple of days. This is the thing with me. What happens is I go into the garden regularly, and then we have a few days where it's colder, so then I spend some more time inside, and then we have a couple of days of sunny, and then I just I forget to go out and do my watering. So you can see here I've got another container. Got quite a few of these containers. They are quite handy to have, and I was just trying to use, I've not got any bagged soil, so what I was doing, and I've used up all my soil, my Jack's Magic soil. So what I'm doing here is looking round at the pots which have had other plants which are finished or died back. They are no more, so some of my herb pots where the herbs have died, and I'm just reusing that soil. You don't need to have anything sort of particularly special really. The beans will grow. The only thing that was I was concerned is one of them looked like that had some of the soil had gone a bit mouldy, which is a bit weird. But you see I've got enough there with the old pots to fill in the whole of that container. And it'll be interesting to see how well the beans do in this container compared to the other containers, because all of the other containers are the Jack's Magic soil. So it'll be interesting to see whether they just don't do quite so well or whether they do the same. So I squash in quite a lot of plants there. So I'm going to go out and water these in a minute and see how they're getting on. Hopefully they haven't all been attacked by the snails in the last few days. Hopefully the sun hasn't killed them all, because as I said, I haven't watered them. So you can see in this part of the garden, this is the part which I call my working area. I still have got a lot to tidy up with. It's funny because I just think being tidy comes naturally to some people. I'm sure some people could just come into this section and just kind of whoosh through it and just suddenly make it seem so much tidier than what I've got it, where I've got pots and everything sitting here, there and everywhere. So I hope you didn't find that too boring, watching me do the watering in the garden. And the end part of my video, I'm now going to show you my next project. So the first room is the lounge. Now bear in mind this is supposed to be returned minus wear and tear. I've got ripped wallpaper, I've got holes in the wall, I've got massive great lumps of anonymous materials, I've got drawings all over the walls. So this is kind of, the lounge is going to be repainted, and I'm going to repaper, and I'm going to change all the woodwork to white. In here you can't see too well, but the cupboard, that's really filthy walls. You can't really see it that well, but they're really quite dirty. And then the wallpaper wall has got ripped sections. Unfortunately they replaced this wallpaper, which is sort of like a bedroom wallpaper really, but it's ripped in quite a few places, and under the fire it's filthy. In the kitchen I'm going to be repainting some of the walls down here. The ceiling needs to be redone in a couple of places, so obviously I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be getting someone to do that. Yeah, there was a couple of leaks and they didn't tell me straight away, and then one was continually leaking and they didn't tell me. The whole of the kitchen needs a really good clean. It's dirty, it really is dirty, so that needs to be done. That section all needs to be boxed in, so that's another job. Then the little toilet, the paintwork is in quite a bad way. So all of that needs to be scraped back, and then all of that needs to be repainted. Toilet's quite clean, not too bad, but the seat is broken. That was a brand new seat 4 years ago. And then I just walk back through the dining room and I take you upstairs. So this carpet, I think someone's gone up the stairs persistently. Can you see the holes? It's like they've gone up and they've kicked. Who knows? In the bedroom, there's a little bit of decorating that needs to be done. There's some stains on the wall. Black mould has set in because the ventilation is so bad. So I need to put some stain on that, some stain remover. We need to repair the chimney breast and the door. Not so much to do in the little bedroom, just a little bit of redecorating. They took down the shelving unit and I don't know where that went, so that needs to be covered up and cleared up. I'm going to replace the radiator because that's not looking very nice at all, and need a new bath panel on the side of the bath. Otherwise the walls are in reasonably good condition. And then the next floor is quite dark because the light, when you put the light on, the light's not very bright. So I need to do something about that. This carpet's okay. So this carpet's got less wear, so that's going to stay. And then in here, there's some more decoration. So if someone thought it was a good idea to put stars on the ceiling, when the ceiling is actually papered, so that's going to be further work. And then in the last bedroom, there's stickers, blue tack, stains, etc. All needs to be cleaned off, and then I'm gonna paint it white. So that'll be easier, I think, just to maintain. So I hope you found that interesting. Thank you very much for watching my channel, this channel. Thank you very much for subscribing, and I'll give you an update on my project in the next few days. Bye bye.